Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit north node, square opposition, or inconjunct one's natal Neptune. Now, when we're talking about, transits that involve the north node, can be about our future, our destiny, what you're learning and aspiring to be, where you're directed toward. Now, the thing about this is, now when you're talking about transit north node, basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune. Now, I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, well, squares and oppositions, of course, those aspects are negative and adverse in astrology. The inconjunct is neutral, but a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities in it, coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition. And those things, of course, can cause some exasperation and tension. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse or negative transit. Now, the thing is, when transit north node is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune, well, it may manifest in one's future, one's destiny, what you're learning and aspiring to be, where you're directed toward, your mission, your purpose, and also issues you may have to address and confront. Those things might conflict with the fantasies, the dreams that you are going after. Say if the natal Neptune is in Aquarius, it could be some dream that you have or a fantasy connected to astrology or astronomy, computers, innovation, humanitarianism, aviation, as some examples. You might feel that your future, where you're destined to go, is really taking you away from the things that your ideals, what you really have perhaps dreamt about, and what was actually a dream to you. Or it might even conflict with your relaxing at this time and sleep even. This could be something too where, you look at Neptune again is connected with ideals, and you might not feel where you're being pulled to at this time, what you may feel you're learning and aspiring to be. That might not be ideal for you at this time, but it might be something that you just feel needs to be done for whatever reason. And Neptune is also connected with escapism, it's confinement, isolation. So at this time as well, it might be what you're really what you feel where your destiny may lie. You might feel that it's somehow derailing you from relaxation, from really trying, as far as escaping, kind of going into your own world, maybe going into solitude or seclusion at this time, and or maybe those things you don't feel you're directed toward at this time. It can be something too where this is also, Neptune is also connected with imprisonment. So if it's something where there's in isolated cases, if there's somebody out there that is facing some kind of imprisonment or incarceration somewhere, it can be obviously that can conflict with your future. And even if it's something where it's a some minor offense or something that just simply goes on your record, or some kind it's just a minor blemish, maybe it can impact your future because maybe something happens with the credit history that's negative. So this is something where again, when you're talking about, I've said in previous videos, but I'll say it again, and this one is that adverse transits are, when I said, well, this is basically an adverse transit, and they can be rough. You might feel you're trying to do one thing, you're pulled one way, but then something happens and you got to go in another direction. A lot of times that's how these transits, basically negative transits, do operate. Neptune is also connected with deception and duplicity, and you have to be careful that you're not victim of self-deception in terms of what you can do as far as your future goes. If the transit north node, say, is in Leo in the 10th house, you're aspiring maybe to do something with entertainment or acting, with movies, something with sports, that it's not at a point where you're overly idealistic about it to the point of being unrealistic, to something where what you're attaining for at this time, it becomes something unattainable. So that's something to look for during this transit. Now also too, anatomically speaking, Neptune is connected with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic and immune system. It's general weakness. And the thing is too, maybe there's something where you're feeling a little more sluggish or lethargic, and it might be impacting what you want to go toward as far as your mission, your purpose, your future, your destiny at this point in time. It could be where in some cases there might be some problems with the feet or the toes, where it may be harder for you to go after your future at this time, because a lot of, if it's a job or something, most jobs do require you to just stand up to some degree. And the feet and the toes, though, the toes might not be very big, but they can cause major issues if you do have some affliction with them. And the thing about this too is that Neptune is also connected with dissipation and dissolving. And you might be trying to dissolve something at this time, and which might be precluding, or I should say maybe prohibiting you from going after your future, or where you feel you're directed toward or learning and aspiring to be may actually challenge you in terms of trying to dissolve something. The thing is, let's say if the natal Neptune is in the 7th house, it could be some marriage or relationship or some situation with an open adversary. It can be too that also, Neptune is connected with what's could be nebulous and unclear. And the thing is, maybe this could manifest in being unclear, or where your future is nebulous. There might be some, or you might be dealing with some, chaos in your life that might be maybe challenging where you need to go. If the natal Neptune is in the 4th house, say, it might be some chaos in your home life at this time with your family, as an example. And again, Neptune is connected with lethargy, it's fatigue, tiredness, and you might just not feel like at this time having the energy, the exuberance and vitality to go after what you feel you're directed toward, what you're learning and aspiring to be at this time, and where you feel you may be directed to. And Neptune is also about self-sacrifice. So it might be a time where you have to be careful. It can be where you might be sacrificing where you really, in terms of what you feel you need to do for your future and your destiny at this time, and maybe even issues you have to confront or address, you might be putting off and procrastinating on, because you may be sacrificing for somebody else. Say if the natal Neptune is in the 8th house, it could be someone like you're in an intimate relationship with, or in a shared resources scenario with, as some examples. And just giving general, maybe sacrificing yourself, giving general support to somebody. Now, another thing is, another way that this transit may manifest, it could be that qualities that you need to develop may conflict with your dreams. Relaxing, meditation at this time. Let's say if the transit North Node is in Capricorn in the 6th house, as an example. It could be getting some kind of, being responsible and having maybe gaining structure and discipline, which is Capricorn, in your work, employment life, your daily routine. It may even manifest in sometimes a physical related issue that may need to be addressed or confronted. Since we're talking about the 6th house of health, physical health, it could be something being in Capricorn, something with the knees, the bones, joints, hamstrings, gallbladder, as some examples. Now, another thing too is that there also may be some issues that you may need to confront or address, which is the North Node, may challenge matters with self-sacrifice, which of course is associated with Neptune. Now, if the North Node, let's say the transit North Node is in Libra, in the 12th house as an example, there can be, say, it might be something with relationships, maybe relationship fears. The 12th house is the house connected with fears. And it can also be, too, another way this transit may be expressed, it could be where your future lies may conflict. It could be with Neptune related activities in general. Hold on a moment, people. Let's say, for example, if the transit north node is in Aquarius in the 8th house, it might be, maybe you're just, well, first I want to get back to where the future, where future lies may conflict with Neptune-related activities. And Neptune-related activities, again, could be simply connected with, could be sleep or meditation. It might be something with spirituality, the metaphysical, which includes astrology, poetry, dancing, photography, as some examples. Now, let's say, it could be, let's say though, if the north node, for example, the transit north node is in Aquarius in the 8th house, it could be just being like an internet, which is Aquarius sleuth, which is the 8th house. It could also be going back to what's anatomically connected with Neptune. If there are any issues with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic or immune system, it may be harder to pursue your mission and your purpose. Now, let's say if the transit north node, let's say if it's in Aries, the 2nd house, it might be some Aries money-making endeavor. It could be something with firefighting or welding, carpentry. It could be training people in self-defense, something with the military or sports. Arson investigation as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.